fully focused on Camp Carolyn, and I came to realize as I've developed this project that I haven't really taken much time to introduce myself. And now as I face a point where seeking to gather capital, maybe foundation members, something to that effect that allows for funding to actually execute Camp Carolyn, I'm realizing I need to introduce myself and explain to people why I'm so driven to work towards this end. It can easily be divided into three parts, and there's a past, a present, and a future. The past is mostly rooted in having been a child who is now grown into an adult who's a survivor of trauma, of tragedy. As a child of only 8 years old, I lost my mother to suicide, unfortunately. Although her suicide was actually the cause of her death, there was one deeper than that, and it was completely an addiction. My mother was addicted to really everything that you could be addicted to. I seen her go through many stages of addiction, recovery, relapse, and ultimately, again, I lost her. Going through those experiences made me more sensitive to the nature of addiction, to the people who are involved with it. Obviously, from a child's perspective at that point, losing a parent is an incredibly difficult thing. With that being said, I am not naive enough to believe that I will never be an addict. I think that there is a genetic component that I cannot escape. There is alcoholism and drug addiction absolutely everywhere. And that brings us to my present day motivations. Every single time I watch the news, I hear about somebody who is in their 20s or 30s that has overdosed and been brought to the hospital, been brought back to life by Narcan, this miracle drug that keeps giving people second and third and fourth chances. And the hard part is in the present day culture that this is created, because it is every day. People are becoming immune to it in some ways, and some people are even becoming angry about it. And not angry in a good way where maybe they're motivated to do something. It's more of an anger that is deeper and malicious, to the point where some people even think Narcan shouldn't even be available, or perhaps people should only get 1 or 2 or 3, however many doses, like 3 strikes and you're out type policy. I don't believe that. I believe that every time people have an opportunity to recover, they should be given that opportunity to recover. It is never too late. There are people who have been addicts for 20 or 30 years and still live 20 or 30 years of their life sober and happy. Why should we ever give up on these people? The present day problem is we've lost sight of what it really means to be a community. So where's the sense of community and the understanding that these people don't want this? But are we doing our part to provide the resources necessary to help them get through it? Because let's face it, they shouldn't have to pay for that mistake of choosing to do that drug. They shouldn't have to pay for that with their lives. But if we're not part of the solution, then that cliche saying that we are part of the problem. And I refuse to be that. Camp Carolyn gives me a way to interject into that in a problem-solving way instead of just an observational way. I'm tired of just watching. And the general consensus among members of the community that I talk to seem to feel the same way. Everybody is tired of watching people die. So Camp Carolyn becomes a solution at that point, because the main problem is these people, these addicts, when they choose to get help and they step out, they go to recovery, they go to rehab, they spend 60, 90 days in rehab, and when they leave rehab, where do they go? Unfortunately, they often end up back in the same toxic environment, surrounded by the same people, the same problems, the same things that led them down that road in the first place. So sober living facilities, sober living homes, transitional homes, recovery housing of this nature is a wonderful solution to that problem. The present for me is a huge motivator as well, because I have children of my own. And as I said, I'm not naive enough to believe that I will never be an addict. I'm also not naive enough to believe that they will never be an addict. The effects on the children are something that are everlasting and cyclical, just like it could have been for me, and it could be for my children if, I hadn't broken that chain. In the instance that they might have to face addiction one day, I really want a resource for them without any difficulty procuring for them to enter into recovery in a long-term living environment similar to the one that I have with Camp Carolyn. The future looks pretty bleak if we don't begin to reverse the trend of how we treat our addicts in society. As I mentioned earlier, we have the next generation to be concerned about, whose parents are not directly involved in their life, and those children are going to be more susceptible to addiction. And as I push to make Camp Carolyn a reality, to make it an opportunity for me to help other people understand in the community, as well as the addicts themselves, that this is a rebuilding process. We need to transform recovery. And I'm not saying we need to throw out the 12 Steps program or any other conventional programs that are commonly used. We need to supplement it with programs that provide opportunities for real growth, for something that can be seen, not just talked about. With Camp Carolyn involving a greenhouse as part of the facility, and hopefully small crops, potentially livestock and things of that nature, it gives women an opportunity to be part of something bigger than themselves. When you're planting a garden and you're planting flowers, crops, they start out from the tiniest little thing. And the whole process of growth that occurs and the nature, the science of it is incredible. I am a Christian, and I feel it's important to call attention to that, because the truth is I wouldn't be doing any of this if it weren't for my Christian faith and my desire to give something back in a way that is like Christ, and that I can carry forgiveness and love and understanding, charity, all of these characteristics. I can be a carrier of that and a representative of that. And that is what this is to do. But it's not for me alone, because the people who become a part of this program and successfully complete it, which in particular it is only catering to women initially, and those women can go back to their neighborhoods and their communities, and they can be the mothers that they should be. The mother my mom couldn't be. She was in and out of rehabs and hospitals and psych wards, and I don't even know where all she went. She went to a lot of different places for help, and she couldn't find it. And she kept coming right back around and right back to the same people and environment, and nothing ever changed. With an opportunity to isolate yourself from the toxic environment that you leave to enter rehab, you get out of rehab, you come to Camp Carolyn, you spend a year there rebuilding yourself from the bottom up. Your hygiene, your exercise, your diet, all your basic life skills. And then we can move to advanced things. We can move to rebuilding relationships and recovering from trauma and abuse maybe that you've experienced in your life that also is a contributing factor to your addiction. An opportunity to explore spirituality. And even though I am a Christian, I believe wholeheartedly that people should have a chance to explore any faith that might help them along this path. Other components with learning job skills, taking the opportunity to get a GED or maybe go to college, and then ultimately, of course, finding gainful employment hopefully gaining custody back of children if that's been lost in the process of recovery. Any number of these parts that give people a reason and a will to live without drugs. Addicts might be only addicted for a week or a month, years. It really doesn't matter, because once they're an addict, they will know that they're always an addict. And it's something they have to live with for the rest of their lives. If we have an opportunity as a community to give them the tools necessary to fight back against that addiction, even if it keeps them sober for another year, decade, however long it gives them to enjoy the opportunity to be in relationship with their community, with their family, with their children, it's worth it. I really appreciate you taking the opportunity to get to know me, to get to know why this process is so important to me, and to understand why I am doing this, why I feel the timing is right now, and why I know that you